Let's now give you some breaking news that's come in, where a senior US official briefing the reporters has asserted that the Iranians have demonstrated no seriousness to achieve a real deal, even though Washington had offered free nuclear fuel forever. In the last 3 rounds of talks, Iran apparently refused to negotiate over its ballistic missile program altogether. So this, of course, is what has been reported, where a senior US official briefing the reporters has asserted that the Iranians demonstrated no seriousness to achieve a real deal, even though Washington has offered free nuclear fuel forever. In the last 3 rounds of talks, Iran had apparently adamantly refused to negotiate over its ballistic missile program. And to put things in perspective as to what is playing out at this moment in West Asia, we're joined by Mr. Adrian Calamil, who's a fellow at the Arabian Peninsula Institute, terrorism and Middle Eastern scholar and the author of the forthcoming book on Hezbollah, and is joining us live from New York. Mr. Calamil, thank you very much indeed for joining us here. Now,
Thank you, Mohammed.
Welcome, sir. Now, looking at what is unfolded, in the last couple of hours, there are reports that Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has apparently been taken out in these American and Israeli strikes. How do you think this changes the situation of this war?
Well, first of all, very early. Good morning to you. Very early morning to you.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning for us.
Yes, very early. So if you look at what the United States and Israel have done, and it was basically 3 different things. It was to blind the regime, it was to create confusion, and it was to diminish any retaliatory type of capabilities. So this goes right into with taking out Khamenei, and it's being reported that there's more senior officials that were lured to this meeting through intelligence spoofing, through electronic spoofing, where this moment of opportunity presented itself. So, taking out the supreme leader, what it does, it puts it puts some wind behind the sails of the people that have been protesting in the street, but it also creates a lot of confusion within the guards, within the entire structure that's tiered below him. Like, who's going to take charge, especially with who's been taking out. Was Shamkhani taken out? Was Pezeshkian taken out? These are all individuals or was the son, Moshtaba, also eliminated. So it looks like it could be a kind of leveling at the very top of the infrastructure of their command and operational structure.
Considering the Iranians, have been firing these drones and missiles, which have struck several of the American military bases within the region, even though the top Iranian Ayatollah has been taken out and the top military leadership has also apparently been taken out in these attacks. In your assessment, how do you think things will proceed from here? Because the Iranians had put in a clear plan of succession. They knew what was coming after them. And how far do you think Iranians would be willing to fight back?
That's a great question, and it really depends on how many different layers of leadership were taken out in this meeting, who it falls to, who in the IRGC it falls to. This most recent barrage that hit Saudi Arabia, our air base there, and also hit Israel. There was a very large volley, probably the biggest we've seen since the beginning of these hostilities. It kind of coincided with the death and the announcement of Khamenei. So is this the IRGC lashing out? But every time they lash out, and they do this with their ballistic missiles, they have a finite supply, and now we're starting to track the launchers. The bows are the missiles and the arrows. The arrows and then the bows. The bows are the launchers, and we're starting to track those mobile launchers, and that's a concern as well. But as those start to get taken out, Israel and the United States own the skies. You have a Gulf meeting tomorrow of the Saudis. They're all getting together to figure out how to position. And I think it's to maybe, do they start to allow U.S. to use their bases? So it's, it's not looking good for the regime, and the plan of succession could be crumbling right before them.
All right. We'll discuss about the plan of succession in just a bit, but I want you to weigh in on what Donald Trump could do next. If the Americans have taken out, as they claim they have, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, this is a major blow for the Iranian Islamic regime. The top leadership is gone. Trump said that he wants the Iranian people to rise up and take charge of the government once America completes its campaign in Iran. Do you think Donald Trump will take this as a victory and call for an end to the hostilities and probably start some kind of a diplomatic process similar to what he did in Venezuela? After taking out Nicolas Maduro, he was happy doing business with Delcy Rodriguez. Do you think an individual could be found within the Iranian regime with whom the Americans and the Israelis can work?
That's another great question. And within this current regime, if you look at the individuals who are successors, I don't think there's a person that we can work with. At the end of the day, they still want to produce a nuclear weapon. And if we bring it back to that, it's about reducing their nuclear capabilities. So we don't know if the next person that comes in line wants to all of a sudden, develop those nuclear capabilities. The regime's chance really came after the 12-day war. That was their chance to start getting serious about their nuclear program and negotiating about it. And they were very unserious about it, and these are the ramifications. Khamenei's always thought that a nuclear weapon was critical to the survival of his regime, and he's influenced a lot of people in his inner circle to believe that way.
Now, Donald Trump wants to fight wars that are short and sharp and that have a decisive victory that he can take home. We saw what he did in Venezuela. It was a Saturday that he, took Nicolas Maduro out of Venezuela. It is a Saturday in which these attacks are being carried out. But Donald Trump does not want a long, drawn-out war in which the Americans could get bogged down fighting in Iran for many months and possibly years. When the markets open on Monday morning, and if the Iranians succeed in shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, that will send the crude oil prices through the roof. In your assessment, do you think Donald Trump would like to have a victory before the markets open on Monday morning, or is the American president willing to sit in for the long haul and fight out what could be a war of attrition with the Iranians?
Well, I think his preference would be for a really quick conflict, end to this conflict, and that the people would rise up and take back this regime. But, with that target package were the IRGC bases, besieged bases. So, I think we're going to see operations that are going to continue for the next 3 or 4 days to be realistic. And I wouldn't expect it to go beyond several weeks. This campaign. I think a lot can be done to weaken them. As far as the Strait of Hormuz goes, that's one thing that we'll keep an eye on. But the Iranian Navy, a lot of people don't understand what their Navy actually consists of. Mm-hmm. And it's just a bunch of swift boats with rockets on them. So they saber rattle all the time about closing the Strait of Hormuz. This happened back from 86 to 88. They were doing it, and eventually they crossed the red line and they were put back in their place, and there was no more hostilities there. So I don't know what's happened as far as the naval kinetic action has gone with this particular conflict, but you got to imagine those, they're on the table, especially at Bandar Abbas.